Today, we're going to talk about the eXp business model. As you can see, this man here's name is Glenn Sanford, and this is our founder. And Glenn is one of those special people in life that comes along and totally changes the industry. And so for us here in real estate, back in 2009, Glenn Sanford created the first cloud-based real estate company. So what is a cloud-based real estate company? Well, similar to Blockbuster or Sears with Netflix and Amazon, or maybe Yellow Cab and Uber, or Airbnb and traditional hotels, eXp is a cloud-based solution to a brick and mortar problem, and we are totally changing the industry with the solution that we have to the traditional real estate model. As you can see here, eXp has grown exponentially over the last short number of years. When I first found out about eXp, it was 2017. We had somewhere between 2,500 to 3,000 agents in the company at that time. And as you can see here, the company has just continued to grow and grow. To put this in perspective, RE/MAX, I think, took 20 years to get to 20,000 agents. Even Keller Williams took 19 years to get to 20,000 agents. Now we went from 2,500 agents in 2017 to 86,000 realtors today. And you might say, why does that matter to me as an individual agent? Well, at eXp, every single agent is a shareholder in the company. So when we sit down and talk about the growth of our company or talk about what's happening with us internationally, it does affect the bottom line of every single agent at the company because we all own a piece of it. As you can see here, when I first joined eXp, I think we were in Canada, United States, Australia, and the UK. And since I've joined, we've opened an additional 20 countries. I think we're in 23 countries, 23 or 24 countries right now. And we opened, I think, 10 or 12 countries during COVID alone when nobody could literally leave their home, which I think is pretty incredible and is just a testament to our business model and the technology that we use to help our company expand. So part of that technology is Virbela. Now this is a sample of what Virbela looks like, and Virbela is essentially a software program that makes everything sort of function and work within eXp. Now this kind of looks like a video game, Chris. You know, I'm not really interested in playing video games, but the honest truth is you're not going to spend a ton of time in eXp world just the same way as a very productive agent isn't going to spend a ton of time, in most cases, in a traditional office. But this is one of the tools that you have on your tool belt that is an exceptional tool that you have access to. So if you needed help with tech support or accounting or any department in eXp, we have over 1,000 staff that work for us here now in our cloud office environment, and you could literally walk in there within minutes and have somebody provide for you concierge style service. You can click a link in the chat box, you can turn on your microphone and have a conversation with them. They can share their screen, and within minutes you can have somebody provide answers to your questions, rather than, as we know, with the bank as an example, it's very common to be on hold for up to an hour, maybe 2 hours, trying to get your questions answered. So we have that type of service here in eXp world. And then on top of that, we also have what I call seminars on demand. So we have 5 to 10 to 15 classes per day in our eXp World Cloud campus. So on the right hand side here, you can see that we have an auditorium where our top agents in the company will be sharing their trade secrets on what worked for them to become successful agents in our marketplace. And I'll talk a little bit more about our training in just a little bit. So this is our eXp Enterprise back office. Now this is sort of your one-stop shop for how to access all of the tools here at eXp. Now every agent gets one of these websites, and of course you can access, for example, SkySlope. Now, SkySlope is the top transaction management system by all companies, I believe, and we utilize that for our conveyancing department. Some agents will say to me, well, how does the conveyancing work at eXp if it's cloud-based? Well, our conveyancing staff, just like any other company, will manage our transactions, but they work from home, and instead of emailing your documents to the office or dropping them off in person when you do a deal, you just upload them to SkySlope, and our transaction management staff are very very thorough, and they have a checklist system to make sure that you cross all your T's and dot all of your I's. And then Workplace by Facebook is an exceptional sidebar to Facebook. It is built by Meta, and it's almost exactly the same as the original Facebook, except for it's specifically for business. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe eXp is the biggest customer of Workplace by Facebook. But what's really great about that is you can access all kinds of different information. You can access all kinds of different threads, Facebook groups, chat functions. You can phone other agents and staff through eXp in Workplace by Facebook and the work chat feature of it. And it's an exceptional tool, which I can share some more information with you. And you can check out this video next if you want some more information on that in a previous video that I recorded. Now, the CRM and lead generation tool that we utilize is called KV Core, which I'll explain a little bit more on a different slide as well. And then we have a huge slew of branding and marketing material. And I'm not super tech savvy, but even I can figure out how to use our branding and marketing materials. I'm telling you, all you need to do is backspace, put in your information, upload a photo, and it literally just download and print it. Is super, super easy to use. Now, our training, I personally believe that our training is the best training in the industry for a number of reasons. Number one, there's almost unlimited access to training. Anything that you'd ever want to learn about is accessible to you through our technology. But what's really great about it is, as I'd mentioned before, everybody that sells houses at our company is a shareholder of eXp. And because of that, we're all looking for ways to help each other grow. And for our top producing agents, a part of receiving their full benefit for their Icon Award, which is a $16,000 stock award, which I'll explain in a little bit, is essentially to turn around and share their trade secrets with the other agents to help them grow their business. Now, let's give the benefit of the doubt to some companies that do offer good training. Not all companies do, but let's just say some do. And I know that some companies offer great training. But in most cases, if you were to go to a traditional real estate company and you were to ask the top producer in your office or in your market if they're willing to share their trade secrets with you, even if they wanted to, they're definitely not incentivized to do so. And in most cases, they would be your competitor. So here, our top producers are busy, just like any other company. They're actually incentivized to help you grow your business as well. Because as they say, a rising tide rises all ships. Everybody wins here at eXp. Now, CRM and lead generation. As I'd mentioned briefly before, KV Core is essentially like a 3-in-1 system. So it is a CRM system, a contact retention management software system for you to upload all of your sphere of influence contacts into it. And there's automated features and functions that you can utilize through mass texting, mass emails, automated campaigns, etc. to keep in touch with the people that you know. And on top of that, it's also a lead conversion tool. So when somebody search for listings on your website, you can put a little form in there so that they have to put their name and email address so that viewers of your site can then turn into potential long-term prospects that you can nurture and grow that list over time as well. And then on top of it all, it is an IDX solution that will syndicate with the MLS system in your market to make sure that anybody that's searching for listings can go to your website and easily reach all of the listings that are currently listed in your marketplace. Now, eXp Realty core values. What I think is really important here, and what's different from other real estate companies, is the transparency, the collaboration, and the fun. Now, when we first get into real estate, we're usually super excited, and I always joke about this and say that agents will work so hard for the first 2 years in real estate just to get into the business and become successful, but then they'll spend the rest of their life trying to get out. And I jokingly say that because the expenses are high in real estate and the expenses are regular every single month in real estate, but our income oftentimes follows, an up and down roller coaster. So it can be difficult to get ahead in this business at any pace, and it's very easy to get burnt out. So our slogan here at eXp is, we're making real estate fun again. And the cool thing is, I can sit here and tell you about how much I love eXp, but there's 106 agents in my group now, and many of which sell a whole heck of a lot more houses than I do, and many of which have been in the business for a lot longer longer than I have, and I can personally attest to the fact that every single agent in my group is more excited about real estate than they ever have been before because of the collaboration and because of the opportunities that we have here at eXp that simply aren't available at other companies, that enables you to get ahead in the real estate business. As we know, there's no retirement plan in real estate, and so we solve a problem that new realtors don't even know they have yet, and we definitely solve a problem that experienced and seasoned realtors sometimes forget that they oftentimes don't have. Now, the collaboration piece is a part of what I mentioned before in terms of we are all shareholders, but we also have a very unique revenue sharing model that creates another layer of collaboration because of the way that we're compensated, so that when a new agent joins the team or when a new agent joins the company, rather than saying there's another competitor, what happens here at eXp is we try to look for how do we help that new person. And it really is that culture here at eXp, which is a lot of fun. And then the transparency component. It doesn't matter if you have been here since day one, or if this is your first day, or if you're the highest producer, or if you're the lowest producer at eXp, everybody pays the same fees. There's no special deals. There's no favoritism here at eXp. Everybody pays the same fees, and I think that that is a big deal. Now, we are all one brokerage. It is not a franchise. There's no franchise fees. And one of the questions I oftentimes get is, who's the broker at eXp? And how does that work? So because we're not a franchise, eXp is all under one roof. So we do, however, have a local broker of record for each jurisdictional area, and that broker will be compensated on a $29 per deal fee basis. It's essentially like a salaried administrative position, but the brokers can still make good money at eXp. It's just that they will manage anywhere from 50 to 150 agents until we hire additional broker support staff. So we have some of the best broker support in the industry, and because our brokers are dedicated to managing issues, complaints, trust accounts, etc., they're specifically focused on your deal rather than all of the rest of what goes on with a traditional company in terms of the broker role. Now, what are the costs at eXp? Well, let's break it down. There is a $199 startup fee one time just to join eXp. Now, full disclosure, these are the Canadian fee split structures. I can share with you in a separate video how it looks on the American side, but it is very similar. And then if you don't sell a house at eXp, it is literally $156 a month. So if you go on vacation for 3 months, or if you're brand new to the industry and you're just getting started, it's literally $156 per month to hang your license at eXp, which I think is one of the most affordable in the industry here in real estate. Now, we do have an 80-20 split to a cap of $16,000. Now, we're not the cheapest company, but we're also not the most expensive, but I do believe that we have the biggest upside opportunity, which I'll explain in a little bit. So sometimes I'll hear from agents that work for a franchise style company, and they will say to me, well, Chris, I make 100% commission at my company. Why would I pay an 80-20 split? But in my research, what I've found is even for agents that are on 100% commission or maybe a 95-5 split, when you look at the franchise fees, a lot of times at the end of the year, you're still going to pay $23,000 to $28,000 at the end of the year on 100% commission, because you've got $1,600 a month, sometimes up to $2,000 a month, plus deal fees, plus desk fees. So here at eXp, we have a $16,000 cap, and that's an 80-20 split. So basically, the first $80,000 in commissions that you do, 20% of that would be $16,000. So that's your $16,000 cap. And then after that, you're on 100% commission thereafter. So in our market, the average commission is approximately $6,000. So that would be somewhere around 12 to 13 deals to cap. And then from there forward, you'd be on 100% commission. Now, once you're on 100% commission, you have a $285 transaction fee on the next 20 transactions. And moving forward from there, you have a $75 transaction fee, which is very affordable. But here's what's really great. If you were to do $80,000 in gross commissions plus 20 complete transactions paid, for the calendar year at eXp, you would qualify for our Icon Agent Award. So our Icon Agent Award is a $16,000 stock award. Now it's broken down on how that stock award is given out, and a part of that I'd mentioned is our cultural requirements here at eXp to help other agents grow their business. But essentially, if you're an Icon agent at eXp, it's not going to cost you very much to hang your license here, and if you are influential at all, you can also earn some money in revenue share, which in very short order, the cost for you to work at eXp would be next to nothing, or potentially nothing, or maybe the company actually pays you to work here. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a little bit here as well. So you also do get a small stock award when you do your first transaction here at eXp. You get a small stock award when you fully cap at eXp, and if you were to sponsor an agent when they do their first transaction, you also get a small stock award. Now I won't give you the exact numbers, they're not exactly listed, but it's a couple few $100s per stock award for these smaller stock awards. Now, the Sustainable Equity Plan that you can see here, as well as the Icon Agent Award that you can see here, these are gifted stocks. These are stock awards. Now, these stock awards are vetted, or vested rather, for 3 years at eXp. Now, this is actually a really great thing. I think it's brilliant for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a forced savings plan for real estate agents. It sort of saves you from yourself. Rather than cashing it in, you're sort of saving it for retirement in a sense. But then also, it keeps our stock price strong here at eXp, and it also creates a really strong retention into our business model. Rather than like a lot of companies I've seen out there, you have to pay a $3,000 fee to leave. At eXp, we don't penalize you to leave, we just incentivize you to stay, which I think is brilliant. Now at the bottom here, you can see where it says Agent Equity Program. So what this is essentially, it's an option for you, which I highly recommend, by the way. I don't know anybody not taking full advantage of this, but essentially, if you decide you want to opt in, this is an option to put 5% of your total gross commissions towards stock in the company at a 10% discount. Now, what's really cool about this is you're actually cost averaging the stock. So you've just removed the risk from the equation. Now, this Icon Agent Award, when I first joined eXp, if you were to take the split into consideration, the stock was trading around $3.50 a share. Now, it was actually closer to $7, but I'm taking the stock split into consideration to simplify this. So around $3.50 a share, and the first $100,000 in commissions that I did, 5,000 of which went towards stock in the company at a 10% discount at $3.50 a share. The stock is now trading today around $12.50 a share. But if I would have simply just waited until I qualified for Icon, the stock had already risen to that time to $50 a share, which was really exciting. But because I was a part of this agent equity program, I did manage to utilize the stock while the price was a lot lower, as you can see. That's what I mean by cost averaging. And what's really cool about this too is it's not just for top producers. This agent equity program, I've talked to several agents at eXp who are simply capping agents who just work every single year and do a deal a month, who have like hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock just because they decided to hang their license at eXp instead of a traditional real estate company. And to me, I think that is a big game changer for real estate agents that are just looking for another way to get ahead. Now, next on the list here is the eXp revenue sharing model, which I'm really excited to share with you today. And now how this essentially works is you can earn up to $2,800 per agent per year on the first tier, essentially. So if you refer an agent to the company, you can earn $2,800 per year. Now, this doesn't come out of their commission. This comes out of the split that they pay to eXp. But here's what's really cool. Traditional real estate companies are built exactly the same way. Now, you were very likely referred to the company that you work for already by an agent that you already knew that works at that company. That is very common in our industry. Now, the only difference here at eXp is we compensate agents for that. And what I find is that most agents would love to earn passive income, but have no interest in being a traditional broker, okay? Because of all of the headaches that go along with it, because of the risk and the overhead that goes along with being a traditional broker. Here at eXp, for a small $199 startup fee one time, you have the same opportunity. In fact, I believe a better opportunity to earn passive income long term. Now, let me explain. On your first tier, as I'd mentioned, you can earn up to $2,800 based on their cap. Now you will get paid the following month on the 22nd from the previous month's closings from those real estate agents. So they don't have to cap for you to get paid. You get paid on each of their closings up until they cap. Now, on the second tier, you can earn up to $3,200 per year. Now, this is a notable mention. So Glenn Sanford, our founder, wanted to create the best teamwork that we've ever seen in real estate, which I believe that we have. And a part of that reason is because we actually compensate you more to help that next person than if you were to just go out and do it yourself. Now, there is one caveat here, as you can see, that you need to have 5 agents that you've personally brought in on your first tier in order to receive the full compensation and revenue share for the agents that are on your second tier, which I'll explain a little bit more in a little bit here. So it goes in increments of 5 when it comes to qualifying for those tiers of compensation. So it starts with the first tier, which you automatically can receive the full compensation for, and then the next tier it's 5, and then 10, 15, 20, 25, and then 40. And then the compensation for each tier is listed here: $2,800, $3,200, $2,000, $1,200, $800, $2,000, and then $4,000. So I'll show you a little bit of how this kind of works. So this is my revenue share dashboard, and as you can see, my FLQA essentially means that's the agents I've brought in that are actively in production. So on the left hand side it says my FLA. Those are agents that I've personally brought in, the total. So I've personally brought in 16 agents, 11 of which are actively in production. Now some people will say you have to be an aggressive recruiter to be successful with eXp, but the truth is I've sponsored 16 agents, but I've been in this company now for 3 years, which means I've only sponsored probably personally an agent every 2 to 3 months. So I'm not, a hardcore recruiter by any sense, by any stretch of the imagination. But I've brought in 16, 11 of which are actively in production. And so what that essentially means is they have, at least to become a qualifying agent, we call it, means you have to be active. You have to have sold $5,000 in commission at least within the last 6 months. So how this breaks down is I have personally brought in 16, and those 16 have went ahead and brought in 34. Those 34 have brought in 32. Those 32 have brought in 16, and those 16 have brought in 6, for a total of 106 agents now in my group. But as you were looking before on the compensation chart, I'm getting paid the full compensation for the agents on tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, but because I don't have 15 agents that are actively in production, I'm not getting paid the full compensation for the agents here on tier 4. So let's flip back to the chart now. So as you can see here, I would need 15 agents that are actively in production to be receiving the compensation for tier 4. But what's really notable about this is I have 11 agents that are actively in production, and I have 106 agents in my group. So by the time I have 25 agents that I've personally brought into the company that are actively in production, I should be able to have several hundred agents in my group total, which should account for approximately, it's for sure going to be a multiple 6-figure income based on the historical figures at eXp. And the reason I bring this up is because most agents can wrap their head around the idea of selling 25 houses per year, maybe even 50 houses per year, oftentimes many, many more than that. Now, if you were to say, what's the likelihood of you sponsoring 25 agents to the company over the next 5 to 10 years that are actively in production, which, like in that example I'd given, would snowball into several hundred agents, which would be a multiple 6-figure passive income for you, which for most agents would mean that you're totally financially free. Now, the cool thing about this compensation structure is if you were making that kind of money, all of your personal and business expenses are paid for, and your net worth continues to grow every single month in spite of how involved you are in your business at that point. So you're totally retired. But now, if you want to go from 25 agents to 40 agents, the highest tier of compensation here is on tier 7. So that's notable because Glenn Sanford wanted to incentivize you, even after you're long retired, to have purpose to continue to grow in this business model. So for example, I know an agent who had, I believe, close to 3,500 agents in their group, but because that agent had brought in 35 and not 40, they were earning somewhere close to $150,000 per month in passive income, but they were missing out on $50,000 per month because they didn't have 40 in order to unlock that 7th tier. So as you can see, even though you're totally financially free beyond your wildest dreams, you're still incentivized to stay plugged in, to help grow your group, and to stay plugged into what's happening within your group. So that's what's possible here at eXp, and that's how our revenue sharing model is broken down. And as you can see, very, very exciting for what you can accomplish with it. Now, Game Changers Nation, that is the organization that I am a part of here at eXp, and myself personally, as well as my senior partners in this group, are constantly hosting personal in-person Zoom calls that you can engage with live. In fact, myself personally, I host a group Zoom call on Mondays, which is a sales training mastermind talking all about how to build and grow your business, build the platform and foundation in your business, how to go from 0 to 100 deals a year as fast as you can, utilizing social media, utilizing good old-fashioned sales training basics. It's all about the basics. And then of course on Wednesdays as well, we also do a mastermind all based around how to build and grow revenue share. So I learned from AJ who is my senior partner. He's the founder of Game Changers Nation, and he has close to 6,500 agents in his group today. He's one of the top 15 attractors in the entire company. And at Game Changers Nation here, we have direct access to some of the best in the industry, as well as myself personally. I'm still very actively involved in helping my agents grow their revenue share organizations because I know the systems just as well as any agent in the company, but because I'm still early enough in the process, I'm still very actively involved in helping my business partners grow. So if you have any questions about eXp, or if you want more information, click the link down below in the description to book a call with me, and I'd be more than happy to chat with you. And otherwise, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on this video next. Have a fantastic day.